Character in the show really thought was going to prove an asset. Detective Fusco. Always shrewd, the what the hell is going on here, Detective Carter, Taraji B. Finch, Michael. Producer, writer, co-creator of the show, Jonathan. I also understand that we have a special guest, is that true?
We do indeed, the latest star of the show.
It's so hard to focus when he's on set.
For all of our actors, your roles are really...
It's like, to me, Fusco, if he was caring for the dog, you know, in the first hour you would feed the dog a bar of chocolate and would just keel over. Carter has a kid, she doesn't want to have to deal with a dog. Finch, yeah, it's like, well, Reese is like always out. He's in action, he's moving. And Finch, I feel like if he had to go walk the dog, the machine would be spitting out numbers and beeping wildly like Hal or the robot in Lost in Space. What is the dog's function?
We've got a lot of dog lovers on our writing staff. This is probably where it originated. We were worried that Michael might get lonely in that line. Michael often actually, it's partly Michael's fault as well, because Michael often brings his dog, Chunky, to set, so it's part of it.
I wondered, what was, Mr. Nolan, your mandate going into this second season? What, from the first season, had you developed and brought to the kind of at the end of the first season that you really wanted to explore, and you kind of told writers, this is the direction you want to go in this season?
Well, I grew up watching a lot of what's called episodic or procedural TV. Shows like Magnum P.I., Miami Vice, The X-Files. And some fantastic shows there. They were able to tell the story of the week, compelling story of the week, but they were kind of a secret delivery device for character. And over the long haul, you saw this, you really got to know these characters more, and you saw their stories change. That was one of the attributes of shows like those shows, shows in which the characters were actually, they weren't held in stasis. They were free to change, grow, suffer, you know. You saw the positive things that happened in their lives, you saw the negative things. And so really the log line for the room, the writer's room for season 2 was, you know, evolution of the relationships between the characters and evolution of the relationships between the characters and the machine. And sort of raising the stakes in terms of what does that mean? What is the machine really, and what impact is that going to have?
And I wondered if the other producers could talk a bit about filming in New York. This is literally a true story. My office is on 6th Avenue in the 50s, and one day I was walking down the street getting some lunch, and there was a guy standing by a lamppost like this, and I did a kind of double take, and it was Jim Caviezel. And I was like, literally one of those stupid tourists was like, that's Jim Caviezel. And I started looking at it, and I realized this was being filmed right there. So I wondered if the producers could speak a bit about, since in a certain sense the city is a character in the show.
I'll be brief because Margot's actually produced many things in New York City, and I'm a relatively newcomer. But we have an incredible crew that melds, especially our AD staff. So speak on their behalf. I mean, they actually use the people of New York so beautifully that if you're just walking along the street, someone might come up to you and say, "Keep walking. You're in a shot right now." And it's magical the way we turn 20 extras into 2,000 extras. And it's also such a treat. When I go, back in LA, it takes a long time to find a good location. Here, it takes a long time to find a bad location. So we get to shoot in beautiful, wonderful New York City.
I've been doing a lot of, most of my career in New York, and I think when we're doing the show, it's sort of like you have to have a love affair with the city, which I think we all do. And I think it kind of, it feels that way. I mean, sometimes at the end of a day or the end of the week, I'll look at a cut and I'll look at it and go, God, we did this in our city. It's just extraordinary. It's the work of the Mayor's Office of Film and Television. It's the support of everyone that lives here. It's the, it's all of us just, like I said, finding the nuances of this town, which are so endless. And I think we all have a passion for it, which you have to, because the city it's such a metropolis. It's such a busy, busy place that isn't all about making movies or making television, and yet there's such support for it at the same time that I think it gets us, it gets us through our days here. And we just make it happen while people are going to work and, buildings are being built and financing's going on. Everything just happens, sort of coalesces. So we're blessed that way, I think.
Mr. Emerson, Finch and Reese are two very principled characters, yet the application of how those principles are often kind of up in the air. When the case of the week is presented, you have to sort of very quickly decide who's the victim, who is the potential perpetrator, and now as the kind of ever-deepening mythology of the machine goes on, you're almost having to question sometimes what the motive of the machine itself is. And I wondered how you play that, how that kind of ambivalence, the push and pull of your principles versus the exigencies of the situation you find yourself in.
Well, I think the writers have laid out those conflicts and likenesses fairly clearly. And I'm happy that the friction with the machine is a growing theme in the show, particularly in the second season. I suppose a technical answer to your question would be to play this character in a kind of a neutral gear, to not show particular bents or enthusiasms over much, and to be more reactive. I don't know if that's even an answer to your question.
No, but then the danger of that is that then you would be too blank, that in a sense. So it must be a real challenge for them.
Yeah, you pick your battles and you gauge it so that occasionally the inside spills out or overflows, and then I think it's gratifying to the audience.
Yeah. And I guess a kind of similar question I have for Ms. Henson and Mr. Chapman. You are playing characters who, as actors, you've read the scripts, you know what's going on. But you're playing characters who are essentially, in the large part, in the dark a lot of the time. And you deal with that in different ways. And I wonder how you play that kind of knowing what's going on, yet seeking the kind of information that you need to get that makes your characters believable. I wonder if you both could address that, how it fits your characters to try and find out the truth about what's going on in any given situation.
I guess for Carter, because she's by the book, from the onset, her battle was, can I trust her? Once she realized that they're pretty much doing the same thing she gets paid to do, but everything they're doing and how they're doing it is against the law. But at the end of the day, they're saving somebody. And I think that drives her, because that's what she wants to do. She wants a clean New York. She wants a city where, people can walk around, citizens can feel safe. And, she's in, working with an organization where everybody's not clean.
Come on, be nice now.
So that's always her struggle, God, I gotta go, they shot up another place, how am I gonna explain this? That's always her battle. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is good. She's not going about it by the book, but.
And you?
Well, Fusco's a rather conflicted individual. I worked with a director years ago by the name of Todd Field, and he only gave me the scenes to the movie. He didn't get any of the other scenes. And that's really how I approach my work with Fusco's. I only read my scenes, and then I'll read the complete script once the thing's completely shot. So therefore, I don't draw any preconceived notions or try to go in areas that I have no business going in. That's how I work as an actor. One of the beauties I think this year specifically is that the relationships between the four of us have really kind of tightened up, and there was so much kind of dark hallway dealing, I guess you could say, in the first season, and so to see it take that turn is really is really something that I really enjoyed this season. You'll be back to dark doing soon.
Yeah.
Ms. Acker, I wondered how the character of Root was presented to you when you first met with the producers, and the kind of discussions you had about what kind of character Root was and how you were going to play her, because it's, I would imagine, a really tricky kind of character that you can't go too loopy out there, and you also can't, it's such a juicy character that you can't also play it very kind of straight. So I wondered how you arrived at the interpretation you did.
Well, Root was already introduced on the show before I was actually cast as Root. So they sent me episode 13 that I wasn't actually in, but that Root was in, and I got to see a little bit of who she was and what she was capable of. And so then last season, when I came onto the show playing the psychiatrist, we sort of started out that I was just this nice psychiatrist who was in trouble. And when we got to shooting that final scene with Michael, Jonah and Greg said, we kind of just want her to be more like you. And so I was like, wait, what are you saying about me? So then, Richard's such a great director that I feel like he did my first episode of this season and my first episode being introduced as the character, and I think he just helped me from being too crazy. Just the right amount of crazy, I guess.
Although, I have to say, when I saw her today, I was a little unnerved. She's the sweetest, she's like the sweetest person on the planet, but somehow I want to keep my distance after watching these episodes.
That was it. We'd seen Amy's work. I'm a big Joss Whedon fan. Seen Amy's work in a couple of the shows. Always spectacular, but in many roles he's quite reserved, quite a bit of a cipher. And so the conversation, it was a slightly awkward one. We said, okay, as soon as you're reserved, careful.